Mace. The mace was added in the 1.21 update, making it one of the newest weapons in Minecraft. It's crafted using a breeze rod and a heavy core, and while it can be used like a normal melee weapon, where it really shines is in its special smash attack. If a player hits a mob or another player while falling more than 2 blocks, the mace deals bonus damage based on the distance fallen. Not only that, but if the smash attack lands, it cancels your fall damage too, making it a high-risk, high-reward technique. In its base form, the mace deals 5 hearts of damage. For the first 3 blocks, it adds 4 hearts per block. For the next 5, it adds 2 hearts per block, and after that, 1 heart per block with no cap. So yeah, if you build high enough, you can delete bosses. With the right setup, you can even one-shot a Warden or Wither, making it by far the strongest weapon in the game. The mace also supports 8 possible enchantments. It can use standard enchantments like Mending, which uses XP to repair durability, Unbreaking, which increases its durability, Fire Aspect, which sets targets on fire, and Bane of Arthropods, which adds extra damage to arthropod mobs. However, it also comes with 3 unique enchantments just for the mace. Density increases the amount of damage dealt from fall distance by 0.5 per level. Breach ignores 15% of the target's armor per level. And finally, Wind Burst allows you to launch yourself into the air 7 blocks per level after performing a successful smash attack. If your mace ever starts to break, don't panic. Just toss a wind charge into an anvil and boom, it's good as new. It's clear that after years of waiting for a new weapon Notch really delivered, this weapon is an absolute beast. Wind Charge. The Wind Charge is the bread and butter of the mace, also added in the 1.21 update. This weapon is a projectile crafted from breeze rods, and while it might look unassuming, it packs a serious punch. When thrown, it knocks mobs back and deals 6 hearts of damage. Not bad for something that looks like a floating wind pellet. When thrown at a player, it deals no damage but still causes knockback, and players won't take fall damage when they land, which makes it weirdly safe. And really fun. So you know what that means? Yeah, flying through the air like a maniac. You can even use them on yourself, launching yourself across cliffs, mountains, or just up in the air for no reason. You do you. I won't judge. Well, I might, but I will be quiet about it. But where these charges really shine is when you combine them with the mace, using them to launch yourself in the air, and on the way down, use the mace's smash attack. A perfect combo. Bow and Arrow. The bow and arrow has been in Minecraft since 2010. Yeah, it's old. Since its first introduction, not much has changed about the actual bow. It's still just a ranged weapon used to shoot arrows. But if crafting isn't your thing, bows have an 8.5% drop chance from unalive skeletons and strays, and they can even come enchanted. That drop chance gets boosted by 1% per level of looting. If you'd rather just buy one, Fletcher villagers will sell you a basic bow for 2 emeralds. Or if you're feeling wealthy, you can spend anywhere from 7 to 21 emeralds for the enchanted version. Even Minecraft is experiencing inflation, yay! Also, if you're really bored, you can get bows as part of the fishing loot drops. To use the bow, you will also need its counterpart arrows. You can craft 4 arrows with flint, which has a 1 in 16 chance to drop when digging gravel, a stick which can be obtained from cutting down trees or breaking leaves, and a feather which you can get from unaliving chickens. This method is serviceable, I suppose, but Notch really didn't make this a very fun crafting recipe. It's not too bad, but when you consider you need to make stacks and stacks of arrows, it feels like a full-time job, and trust me, I don't need one of those. So most players just skip the crafting altogether and rely on the other methods of getting arrows. The laziest players will ignore the bow entirely until they accidentally gather enough arrows from defeated skeletons or strays, or just find them scattered across loot chests, which, believe it or not, is actually one of the better things you can find in those. I mean, who decided beetroot seeds belonged in loot chests? Aren't you supposed to feel happy when you open one? But the best method to gain heaps and heaps of arrows is either trading or an AFK arrow farm. To trade for them, you will need to find yourself a Felcher villager. Yes, I know they all look the same, don't blame me. Just look for the villager with a hunting hat with a feather. Yeah, apparently they are the rarest villagers too, so if you need to get your own. You can with a fletching table, and before you ask, nope, still completely useless. Notch forgot to finish that part. It's been in the game for years with no crafting functionality. If that's not really your speed, then you can build a mob farm to get arrows. It will be some work up front, but you will get a bunch of mob drops for the rest of time, so I think it's worth it. But normal arrows only go so far. If you really want to get the most out of your bow, you'll need to step things up with tipped arrows. No, I'm not trying to sell you something. These are real in-game arrow variants that apply status effects on impact. There are 21 types in total, which is a lot, but don't worry. Most players just pick 3 and pretend the rest don't exist. Some of the more notable ones include the Arrow of Poison, Arrow of Harming, and Arrow of Weakness. Perfect for PvP or just making skeletons' lives miserable. You can craft them by combining normal arrows with splash potions of your choice, which determine the effect applied. You can also sometimes find them in loot chests, or buy them from a Fletcher villager if you're lucky enough to find one with the right trade. And if that still isn't enough power for you, don't worry, the bow itself can be enchanted too. There are a handful of them, and some of them are pretty broken. The most popular one is probably Power, which increases the bow's base damage. At level 5, you can one-shot most mobs. Flame is a popular choice as well, which sets your targets on fire, and Punch, which is basically just knockback for bows. And of course, Infinity is quite possibly the best enchantment, which lets you shoot as many arrows as you want, as long as you have at least one in your inventory. Yeah, Notch knew his target audience, so for all you who are too lazy to get arrows, this is the go-to enchantment for you. But beware, it doesn't work on tipped arrows. And you can add Unbreaking and Mending to the bow, too. Crossbow. The crossbow, added in the Village and Pillage update, might look like a fancy sideways bow, but don't let the appearance fool you. This thing packs a punch, dealing 4 hearts of base damage, and just like the bow, it can fire normal, spectral, and tipped arrows. That means all your fancy arrow gathering methods still work here. Getting your hands on one, though? That's a little different. To craft a crossbow, you'll need 3 sticks, 2 pieces of string, 1 iron ingot, and 1 tripwire hook. Place them in a crafting table like this. But if you're feeling a little lazy, or chaotic, you can always just take one from a pillager. These crossbow-loving mobs hang out in a few places: pillager outposts, which come with some basic loot, and usually a welcoming party. Wandering patrols where 1 to 5 pillagers randomly show up just to ruin your day. And of course, during raids where they spawn in waves and aggressively redecorate your favorite village. If you or your trusty tamed wolf unalive a pillager, there's an 8.5% chance they'll drop their crossbow. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait, isn't the crossbow just a worse bow? And to that, I say, you're wrong. Sure, the crossbow takes 1.25 seconds to load, while the bow only needs 1 second to fully draw. But what it lacks in speed, it more than makes up for in versatility and impact. First off, the crossbow is slightly more powerful and can shoot further. But the more important benefit is that you can preload a crossbow. That means you can load it and then stash it away or switch to another item without losing the charge. It stays ready until you decide to fire. You can even have multiple crossbows loaded at once, letting you swap between them and unleash a barrage of shots in rapid succession. Good luck doing that with a regular bow, Legolas. And that's not all, you can even load the crossbow with firework arrows. Yeah, proper 4th of July fireworks strapped to your crossbow. Notch knows his stuff. Besides just being cool, firework arrows can create an area of effect damage, allow for more visually appealing effects, and can be crafted to create explosive projectiles, and do a lot of damage. And that is all without even enchanting the crossbow. That's where this weapon really begins to shine. First, if you're tired of the long reload time, you can slap quick charge on it and at the highest level reduce the load time to 0.5 seconds, which is even less than the bow. At that point, it's more of a rocket launcher than a bow. Then there's multi-shot. Instead of firing 1 arrow like a peasant, you fire 3 at once in a spread. Yes, it works with fireworks too. Yeah, the bow ain't doing that. And lastly, piercing, which makes arrows shot from the crossbow pierce entities they hit and continue their flight up to 1 extra per level of the enchant for a maximum of 5. So, while I am not saying the crossbow is better than the bow, it does certainly earn a spot as an alternative that is, well, at least in my opinion, a lot cooler. Sword. The sword. Minecraft's oldest and most faithful companion. This thing has been in the game since the very beginning, over 15 years ago. Which, yeah, means it's older than some of you watching right now. And for those of us who aren't in that camp, feel old yet? Yeah, me too. The sword can be made from one of 6 materials, ranked from cheapest to, wow, you actually have netherite, wood, gold, stone, iron, diamond, and netherite. To get your very first sword, all you need is a crafting table, a stick, and 2 planks arranged in this formation. Behold the holy wooden sword. This absolute unit of a weapon deals a mind-blowing 4 hearts of damage, and with a durability of just 59? Yeah, odds are you'll ditch it long before it breaks, probably around the time you upgrade to anything else. which, let's be honest, will happen faster than Notch selling the game to Microsoft. Next up is the Stone Sword. Simply replace the wooden planks with 2 cobblestone blocks. It deals 5 hearts of damage and comes with a way better durability of 131. Still nothing to write home about, but hey, it's an upgrade. Technically. Then we get to the Golden Sword. And if you're new here, let me stop you right there. This is a trap. On paper, it looks like progress. Gold is rare, shiny, expensive. It has to be good, right? Wrong. The Gold Sword is Minecraft's version of a decorative butter knife. It does the same damage as wood, but with less durability, a laughable 32 uses. It's the worst invention since beetroot. And yes, I stand by that. So yeah, if you actually spend 2 gold to craft one of these, you just got hardcore scammed. It would have been better to just use the gold bar as a weapon. And yeah, you can also find these in a bunch of loot chests scattered around the world, which honestly just makes things worse. Even if you have the good sense not to craft one, the game still insists on throwing this golden abomination in your face like it's doing you a favor. Thanks, Notch. Exactly what I wanted. The next upgrade is actually worth getting excited about. The Iron Sword deals 6 hearts of damage and lasts for 250 hits, officially placing it in the viable weapon category. Plus, it only costs 2 iron, which is basically everywhere. But pretty much everyone will go for the next upgrade, the Holy Diamond Sword, which used to be the highest tier until the first 0.16 Nether update added netherite. This shiny blue beauty does 7 damage and has 1,561 hit points of durability, which makes it the strongest sword you can acquire in the overworld, but if you're willing to brave the nether and find netherite, you can upgrade it one more time to a netherite sword. Unlike every other sword in the game, to upgrade to the netherite sword, you will need to use a smithing station combined with a diamond sword, a netherite upgrade tablet, and a netherite ingot to get this all-powerful sword. For your hard work, your fancy new sword does 8 hearts of damage and has 2,031 hits of durability. But this still isn't the end of your journey to achieving the ultimate sword. As with many of Minecraft's weapons, you can enchant the swords too. You have the normal stuff, Unbreaking, which makes your sword last longer, and Mending, which lets you repair it using XP. Then you have Basic Sharpness, which is the go-to for general damage as it increases the power of your sword no matter what you're swinging at. For a more specialized damage increase, you can add Smite or Bane of Arthropods. Smite increases damage against undead mobs, which is pretty useful as they are a common type of mob, but Bane of Arthropods isn't even worth the paper it's put on. It boosts damage against the arthropods, but that makes up a measly 4 mob spiders, cave spiders, silverfish, and endermites, which are all also super uncommon to fight except the spiders. Looting is a must-have. More mob drops mean more ender pearls, more wither skulls, and way more steak. Speaking of steak, Fire Aspect sets mobs on fire and cooks meat on the spot, which, surprisingly, is one of the more humane ways Minecraft players get their dinners. Lastly, and slightly controversial, is Knockback. Some players love it for yeeting mobs across the map. Others hate it because it pushes enemies away when you're trying to get a few solid hits in. So it's kind of like pineapple on pizza. Absolutely horrible. Unless you're some people. All in all, the sword will likely be your most common weapon and is one of the most consistently reliable ones, but once you have the higher tiers, there's never a reason to go back. Axe. The axe, like the sword, is categorized into 6 material types. However, unlike the sword, it's actually not designed for unaliving purposes, but Minecraft players are so bloodthirsty, they decided to make it one. Technically, the main purpose of the axe is to chop down trees. The better the axe, the faster it chops and the longer it lasts. However, the axe is also commonly used as an alternative weapon to the sword. This is because it actually does more damage than any sword at the same material level. The wooden axe does 7 damage, the stone axe does 9 damage, the gold axe, since I'm morally obligated to cover it, does 7 damage, the iron does 9 damage. The diamond also deals 9 damage but has a much higher durability. Finally, if you are a hardcore gamer, the netherite deals 10 damage. And the axe can even break through a shield, which makes them extra powerful in player versus player combat. So with all this said, how come people don't just always use the axe over the sword? Well, I like the axe as much as the next guy. I mean, it is just cool, it does have some major drawbacks too. The most obvious is the cooldown period, which is X compared to the sword's X. I guess axes are heftier to wield or something. I just think it's an excuse to keep our glorious axe from becoming too overpowered. The other drawback is that when using the axe, it only can hit one target at once, unlike the sword, which has a sweeping effect, allowing it to hit multiple targets next to each other. Tridents. The trident, the greatest weapon in Minecraft. Well, that might be a bit of an opinion, but come on, it's just cool. The trident was added in the aquatic update, and unlike most weapons, you can't craft it. That's right, you gotta earn it. You'll need to find a drowned mob holding one, then hope the drop gods are feeling generous because the drop rate is, well, let's just say, prepare to grind. Plus, if you're unprepared, the drowned carrying these tridents are not going to be an easy fight. They can chunk your health faster than Notch dropped the game for a bag. Once you do get your hands on one, you're in for a treat. The trident deals 9 hearts of melee damage, more than a diamond sword, and that's before we even get to enchantments. But what really sets it apart is its versatility. It's not just a melee weapon, it's also a ranged spear. You can chuck it across the map like Poseidon, and it gets even better once you add enchantments. First up is loyalty. With this, every time you throw your trident, it automatically returns to your hand, like Thor's hammer. Yeah, everyone can be worthy in Minecraft. It's all about inclusivity. Next, we've got channeling. Then there's channeling. This one lets you literally harness lightning. When it's raining and thundering, throw your trident at a mob and boom, instant lightning strike on impact. Yeah? Something's fishy here. Notch, you're not sneaky. This is obviously just Thor's hammer at this point. I mean, we're one enchantment away from unlocking a Marvel crossover. Anyway, then there's Riptide. With this enchantment, throwing your trident while in water or even just in the rain launches you forward with it. It's like aquatic rocket jumping. Finally, you have Impaling, which boosts your damage against aquatic mobs, such as Guardians, Elder Guardians, drowned fish, and even axolotls if you're feeling especially mean. You can also add the useful Unbreaking and Mending to keep your trident going forever, just be careful. Loyalty and Riptide are mutually exclusive, so you can only pick one per trident. Tools. Tools. Kind of like the axe, these weren't really meant to be weapons. But let's be honest, who hasn't panic-clicked a zombie with a pickaxe because you couldn't remember what hotkey your sword was on? And hey, each tool actually does some damage. Not a lot, but definitely better than swinging with your bare fists. So if you ever find yourself in a cave ambush with nothing but a shovel, well, good luck, but at least you're not defenseless. In the tool lineup, you have the pickaxe, the hoe, and the shovel. Each with its own damage stat, nothing to brag about, but hey, a few hearts of damage is still better than 0. So take what you can get. Let's start with the hoe. This thing does the least damage of any tool, usually around 1 to 2 hearts depending on the material. It's technically a weapon, but more in the desperate slap fight kind of way. Next up, the shovel. Slightly more respectable, dealing around 2 to 4 hearts, again based on what it's made from. Not the worst emergency option, especially if you're digging your way into or out of trouble. And then we've got the pickaxe, the real MVP of accidental combat. Depending on the material, it can dish out up to 5 hearts of damage. That's actually not bad, and explains why so many players instinctively swing it when chaos breaks out underground. So yeah, they're not designed for battle, but if you're caught mining with your pants down, any tool is better than none. Just maybe don't try to 1 versus 1 a warden with a wooden hoe. Fire charge. The fire charge. A projectile-based weapon that feels more like a trap mechanic than a weapon, but it's my video. My rules, it counts. You can be used like a single-use version of a flint and steel, but to shoot it, that requires a dispenser or dropper to launch, they will then have a straight trajectory unaffected by gravity for a theoretically infinite range if they do not despawn after 1 minute. Yeah, Notch forgot to add logic to this one, but hey, it is a game, so I guess we can let it slide. You can also see this little fire charge in action when it's launched by our floaty, screamy friends, the ghasts. They basically use it like a ranged cannon, which turns the nether into a no-fly zone. But fun fact, you can punch a ghast's fire charge back at it, defeating it in 1 blow. You even get an in-game achievement for it. Return to sender, and let's be real, what a glorious moment that is. The timing, the reflexes, the satisfaction, you feel like Minecraft's chosen one. Until Mojang decided to make ghasts friendly in certain updates and lore, and suddenly everyone's like, wait, they were just sad and misunderstood? Now you feel bad for yeeting their own fire charge back at them like a cold-blooded Steve. Oops! You can find fire charges in a ruined portal chest loot, or you can use 1 blaze powder, 1 coal, and 1 gunpowder in a crafting table to make 3 of them. Splash potions. Splash potions, or what I like to call them, Minecraft's version of grenades. These throwable potions do exactly what you'd expect. Explode on impact and apply their effects to anything nearby. Want to heal allies? Throw a splash potion of healing. Want to weaken mobs before charging in? Toss a splash potion of weakness. To craft one, just brew a regular potion like normal, then add gunpowder in the brewing stand, then wait a few seconds, and your potions are now splash variants. Splash potions can come from any potion, good or bad, and can even be used on yourself. So, maybe don't misclick the poison splash on yourself mid-fight unless you're into that. End crystals. End crystals, the weapon of choice for the Minecraft millionaire. These things were originally meant for respawning the Ender Dragon, but Notch clearly knew what the community really wanted. Big explosions. And now, they've become one of the most destructive PvP tools in the game. Sure, you can use them against mobs too, but let's be honest, that's massive overkill. But hey, you do you. Now, the barrier to entry is pretty high. To craft just one, you'll need a gas tear, an Eye of Ender, and 7 glass blocks. And they can only be placed on obsidian or bedrock. Yeah, you've got to work for it. But when you do, oh, the payoff is spectacular. These things hit so hard they can one-shot a fully armored netherite player, including you. And let's be real, you will accidentally set it off right next to it and blow yourself up, so remember, these things aren't just a weapon but also a self-destruct button if you're not careful. Snowballs. Hey, don't look at me like that, I get it. At first glance, these things seem like a total joke. They do 0 damage to players, and when you throw them, they just go poof on contact. Basically, the pillow fight of Minecraft weapons. But here's the twist. You can throw them rapid fire, making them great for interrupting attacks, knocking mobs off cliffs, or just relentlessly annoying your friends. They're also super easy to get. Just find some snow, grab a shovel, and boom, your inventory's full in seconds. Bonus tip, plop down a snow golem, and now you've got infinite ammo on tap. And surprisingly, snowballs actually do damage to certain mobs, like blazes, and even the Ender Dragon. Yeah, you can take down the final boss with a flurry of glorified ice puffs. So no, the snowball might not be the strongest weapon, but it's definitely the coolest. And let's be honest, style points are everything. Cobwebs. Cobwebs are the natural enemy of movement, making them easily one of the most annoying blocks in the entire game. You'll usually find them in mine shafts, strongholds, and woodland mansions. Basically all the places where bad decisions live. Walk into one and you'll be stuck moving slower than a sloth in quicksand unless you break it. And even then, good luck if you didn't bring the right tools. Breaking them by hand is painfully slow, but if you've got a sword or shears, which you absolutely should unless you enjoy suffering, you can clear them quickly. Most of the time, they'll drop string, useful for crafting bows, fishing rods, or wool if you're in a pinch and out of sheep. But if you bring a tool with silk touch, you can collect the cobweb itself. This weapon is more of a utility tool, which you can use to to slow down your enemies, especially in PvP combat. Functionally, cobwebs slow any entity that walks through them, including players, mobs, and even items. Flint and steel. The flint and steel is crafted with an iron ingot and flint and is most commonly used to light the nether portal, light TNT, or more my sped light things on fire. Yeah, this is an untraditional weapon, but who wouldn't want to be able to light things on fire at will? You can light the ground on fire near mobs or other players to cause fire damage, and if it's a mob that drops meat, it will even pre-cook it for you once it's dead. Lava bucket. The lava bucket is basically a more deadly version of the flint and steel when it comes to combat, which means it's also one of my personal favorites. While it's not quite as good at the mundane tasks of lighting fires or igniting TNT, it packs a huge punch when it comes to defeating mobs or other players. Like the flint and steel, the lava bucket is placed on the ground near whatever unsuspecting individual you have decided to cook, but it does a lot more damage, exactly what I like. The lava bucket can also be used for other things, like being one of the best fuel sources for cooking or smelting in a furnace. But if you want to really up your combat game, you should always have one of these in your hotbar. TNT. TNT, also known as Minecraft's equivalent of a bomb, is crafted from sand and gunpowder. These blocks can be lit with any fire source, such as a flint and steel, redstone signal, or explosion. Once primed, TNT is one of the few blocks with gravity, which gives special use cases, and will produce a damaging block-destroying explosion after a few seconds. This baby is one of the best inventions of our friends at Mojang. You can use it as a weapon in combat, but typically it's too slow to actually be used effectively, and you become almost as likely to blow yourself up as anything else. Where this shines is in other ways. You can use redstone to prim TNT to traps such as a pitfall trap with a pressure plate, like seen in the Desert Temple, but real geniuses with redstone can take it much, much further. Or if you like, most people look up YouTube tutorials. TNT can also be used to make launchers, which can be made to shoot players hundreds of blocks, or made to shoot TNT like an actual cannon. Yeah, the Minecraft community is creative if nothing else. And if that wasn't wild enough, people have even built flying machines that drop TNT infinitely. Because why not? Minecraft physics may be questionable, but the creativity of the community is unquestionable. Redstone traps. Redstone traps, my beloved. Well, as long as I have a good YouTube tutorial. Redstone traps can be made into thousands of different contraptions, pitfall traps, arrow traps, TNT traps, the list goes on and on. The point is, Notch practically creating a whole new science with redstone, and you can use that to kill your enemies. Or, if you're more of a pacifist, then you can use it to create other things, like an automatic door or something. Anvils. The anvil is used to repair weapons and armor, name items, among other things, but for those who know how to have a little fun, they are a weapon. Yes, the anvil is so unassuming until it falls 20 blocks onto your head, crushing you. Okay, I get that maybe the anvil isn't the most effective weapon you can find, but I mean, how cool is it to defeat your enemies using an anvil? Yeah, beat that logic. Cactus. The cactus is Minecraft's attempt at populating its deserts. Yeah, Notch, you still need to update it. Anyway, the cactus normally is just a decorative plant in the desert that can be used to make green dye. But it also does a small amount of damage when anything comes into contact with it. Yeah, I've had more luck with losing pets to cactuses than actually using them for combat, but some players use them to defend their bases. Sweetberry bush. The sweetberry bush is just a worse version of the cactus, doing half the amount of damage per contact. These bushes are usually used to provide food, albeit one of the worst saturation foods in the game. So yeah, these are pretty useless too. They are good for decoration, but then every time you accidentally look at one wrong, it damages you, so it's pretty annoying regardless. Wither rose. The wither rose can be collected when the wither boss mob kills other mobs. This will plant a wither rose. These guys are actually pretty useful, like the cactus and sweet berry bush. They deal contact damage when touched, but instead of just dealing basically zero damage, they will inflict the wither effect. This effect can be pretty deadly, so it's not the worst weapon in the game, but still pretty clunky to use in real combat. That's why the wither rose is typically used in auto-killing farms. Because most Minecraft players don't actually like to do anything for their loot. I blame Notch for allowing so much automation. Campfire. The campfire is similar to the previous weapons, dealing contact damage. It's unique in that it will only deal damage when it's ignited. It is also difficult to use in actual combat and more of a decorative block than a weapon. But like the wither rose, campfires are a popular, cheaper choice in auto-killing farms. Magma block. The magma block doesn't look all that threatening at first, but step on one and you'll start taking steady damage. You can find these in the nether or underwater, and they're often used more for utility than direct combat. But in the right setup, they're a pretty decent trap. They're great for area control, especially when placed in spots where mobs or players are likely to walk. Add some water currents or soul sand to keep things stuck in place, and suddenly that quiet magma block is doing some real work. It won't win you any PvP fights on its own, but as part of a trap or auto-killing farm, worth including.